Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin and we've got another reading vlog for you guys. So last month I asked Steph to pick my TBR and she did a fantastic job. In August I asked Ray to pick my TBR and she did an amazing job. And so we're continuing because you know what? Not having to choose books that I want to read is fantastic. I apologize for any background noise. There's shit happening all up and through this building and I don't know what's going on. They're apparently sawing the Golden Gate Bridge out there. People are hammering. I don't know. But we're gonna push through. Anyway, I asked Dasha to pick my TBR and she so graciously did. And if you don't know Dasha, she's from Mythicpages. She is funny and smart and brilliant. She has amazing content. And if you haven't gone to check out her content, first of all, I talk about Dasha and Ray all the time. So if you haven't gone to check out either one of those two, clearly you have not been on my channel. Second, I don't know what the second thing was. It doesn't matter. It'll come to me. So yes, so October, Dasha picked my TBR. I gave her some prompts, of course, because I can't be completely not in control. And then I'm also going to try to participate in Blackoweenathon created by Bree over at Locked Booktition. If you don't know Bree, what rock have you been sitting under? You need to go check out her channel, check out her content. She has great reviews. She's super funny. She does author interviews and she focuses a lot on Black authors. And then this leads me to what is Blackoweenathon. Blackoweenathon is a month-long readathon and we are reading mystery crime thrillers. Mystery crime thrillers? Why does that not sound right in my head? We're gonna go with it. But the point is we are focusing on that genre. The caveat is that all the authors must be Black because hello, it's Blackoweenathon. It's not everybody a weenathon, it's Blackoweenathon. So, you know, read a Black author. So I'm going to try to participate as much as I can in that. Full transparency, today is October 9th. You know, we're almost heading into mid-October here and I am a little behind on my reading. I'm not gonna kid you. I haven't started Dasha's picks. I've only read one book for Blackoweenathon and I don't know what life is, to be honest. Yesterday, I did sprints with Ray over on her channel. That was such a fun time. I convinced her to read The Other Black Girl with me. So we're both gonna have a terrible time and I won't be alone in it. But on the flip side, I now have to read Ice Planet Barbarians and that was never on my TBR ever. So there is that. Let's talk about the books that I'll be reading in this vlog, or trying to read. Trying. Like I said, I gave Dasha some prompts, and so this is what she chose for me. I asked her to pick a book that she's never heard of, but she's interested on based on the title or the synopsis. And so she chose for me Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. Now, she's obviously heard James Baldwin, but she had not heard of this one. I think, is this his first book? I believe that this one is about a teenager who's trying to figure out who he is, his sexuality, his spirituality, and all of that. Also being Black in like the 1950s, I think. 1950s? Oh, 1930s. That's gonna be a lot. So I am excited to get to this. I also asked her to choose a book for me that was hyped, and that was Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. I'm gonna say, one, I am honestly surprised that Ray did not choose this book when it was her turn to pick. Between her and Ray, they have hyped this book up so much. They both really, really love it. Ray loves this book, so I'm very surprised. But so did Dasha. So I don't actually know what this one is about, even though they've talked about it so much. Then she chose a book that she really wants to know my thoughts on. And so she chose I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Reid. Yep, that's his name. It's right there. By Iain Reid. I know that this is weird. This is about a woman who is considering ending things with her boyfriend, but they're like on a trip or something. I don't know. It looks cold and wintry, and you know what? It fits because it's basically winter here now, and I hate it. walked outside, it was like 50 something degrees, basically winter. And then I asked her to pick a book, any book, on my shelves or not. Again, I appreciate that she chose a book that was from my physical shelf. Thank you to everybody who keeps doing that. I really appreciate it. I mean, would I go buy another book or get it from the most likely get it from the library? Yes. But the fact that you guys are helping me decrease my physical TBR, much appreciated. Anyway, she chose Battle Royale by Koushun Takami. This is like, it's been pitched to me like Hunger Games, and honestly, I just want, this sounds so terrible. I'm just ready to see a bunch of kids like really go at it and get it done. So that's what Dasha picked for me. However, for my Blackoweenathon TBR, this is what I have. I've already read one of the books from it, and that is actually Blanche on the Lamb by Barbara Neely. That was my pick for a book set in the from the 20th century. It was published in like 1993. Then I'm doubling up on prompts because originally I had a book for every prompt. And as we got closer to today, I realized that's not gonna happen. There's no way I'm gonna read Dasha's books, Blackoweenathon books, and like just live life. So we're gonna double up on some prompts. For book that was recently published, I'm going to be reading The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris, and convinced Ray to buddy read this with me. I already know like one of the twists in here, so, but I don't know exactly how it comes about and the bigger role that it plays in here. So I'm interested to see where that goes, but I know that this has a character who is like the only black girl at her job, and then one day another black girl shows up, and again, more sinister things go down, and what happens from there, I don't know. I don't know anybody who likes this book. If you like this book, let me know. But I don't know anybody who likes this book because I've not heard anything good about it, but I was just so appalled by like the twist or one of the twists in here that I just had to know how it happened, how it went down. And I told Ray, like, this isn't gonna be a fun read. We're not gonna have a good time, but it could be. We could have laughs. Who knows? And then for a backlist book that was 10 or more years old, why was that so hard to say? I'm going to be reading The Good House by Tananarive. This was a suggestion by Bree, and I'm actually really excited because I've never read anything by this author, but I only hear good things about like their books. So I'm very, very interested. I know that this has like more of like a spooky horror element, which I'm all here for. This woman goes back to her family home. Something terrible happened back at the house, and I think like the house maybe has like an evil presence or some evil spirits. And let me tell you, that's the shit I want to read. I want to be scared, and I hope I am. I want to have to sleep with the lights on. That's what I really want. Because don't we all want that for fall and October? So that's my TBR. I have the audio for The Other Black Girl, so whenever Ray is ready to read this, I'll be ready to go. But I think that's gonna be like in the next couple of days. In the meantime, I think I'm going to get started with I'm thinking of ending things because it's short. Let's go. was doing sprints with Jess earlier, and while we were doing sprints, I was reading I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And I honestly don't know where this is going. Like, the one thing I do know is that I hope she ends things, because it's so weird. She just complains, the main character just complains about how she does not really like him, and but then she's like, he's perfectly fine, which I understand, because sometimes people are just perfectly fine and you like them, but girl, you're on a road trip with him to see his parents. Seems weird. So it's a very unsettling book for sure. It makes you feel like you're not really sure what's going on. You know something is coming. There's an ominous feeling in the air, but what is that thing that's coming? I don't know. And so I'm gonna finish reading it, because I don't have that much left to finish, and so I think I can get through it really quickly. It's a really quick read. So that is my update on I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So I was reading that during sprints, but also I'm reading for Blackoweenathon. I started buddy reading The Other Black Girl with Ray. There's this girl, Nella, and she works in publishing, and in her particular company, Wagner, I think that's what it's called, there is only one black girl. It's her. And she has been championing for diverse workplaces at Wagner, and holding down the spot for as the black representative, until one day another black person shows up. Hazel is her name. Hazel shows up, and she's like, Nella automatically thinks that I think they're going to be friends because they're both black. And so it's just, right from the beginning, Nella feels like something is a little off or amiss. So Nella doesn't really attribute it to anything sinister, weird, just that's a strange one-off. But Hazel is super inviting and welcoming to her. And, but Nella seems a little jealous of Hazel off jump. And so here's the thing. I already know what one of the plot twists of this book is, so I'm not coming into this book with oh my gosh, this is gonna be the book. This is gonna be a 5-star book for me. I already know that I'm probably not going to like it, but I just want to see how all of this unfolds, to be honest. And the writing isn't terrible. The writing, it's not it's badly written. It's compelling enough where you want to keep reading and find out what's happening, where's this gonna go. But because I know what the plot is, I'm really just reading to figure out how we get there. Why is where we get to the conclusion that we get to, and so that's what I'm really reading it for. At this particular moment, I do not hate it. Do I have the capacity to? Absolutely. Might this pleasantly surprise me and just end up being a run-of-the-mill 3 stars and this was meh? Maybe. I doubt it. I've just heard too many reviews, and I know what the plot twist is, and I just don't see it for me, but I am excited to see where it could potentially go. So today is Monday, October 17th. Yesterday, Ray had reading sprints, and yesterday I finished reading The Other Black Girl. I had to take a day to kind of just sit on my feelings about it, because by the time I ended it, I was so annoyed. So let me tell you what The Other Black Girl is about. So Nella works at this publishing house, and she's the only, exactly Blair, she's the only black girl that works in her company. Until one day, another black girl, Hazel, shows up. And Nella's like, this is great because I've been fighting for diversity, and I've been wanting, more minorities in this space, so it's not just me. So Hazel and Nella become friendly, as you do with a new coworker. You're friendly. You're not friends right away. Sometimes you are, but you're friendly. And then things take a turn. Nella is unsure about Hazel's motives about certain things. They'll have conversations, and the conversations between the two of them Nella will think they're on the same page, and then they'll have conversations in front of other people, and then Hazel will just have completely different opinions than she had with Nella. With Nella. And then so Nella's kind of thinking like, is this girl out to get me? And then over time, things start to happen. Also, there are time jumps. You're kind of following two different timelines. One is like from the 80s with an editor and an author, two Black women, and the editor, was it the editor that ended up, she made some disparaging remarks, and which made her have to like flee the city because people were just like coming down on her really badly. And then her friend never kind of stuck up for her, and she was just kind of riding the white wave. And so I don't know how to describe this without giving away any spoilers. Just know that I did not like this. I gave this 2.5 stars. 2 stars? No, I gave this 1.5 because the writing itself was not bad. Like, it was compulsively readable because there were moments where it's like, well, what's going to happen next? Is this all happening in Nella's mind, or is something really happening to Nella, right? However, you don't like Nella. She's not a person that you're like rooting for. She's talking about like how she's working super hard and she does all these things. I never saw her work that hard. She was just doing her job, to be honest. And then she's like, Hazel's doing so much more. Well, you weren't doing a whole lot to begin with for Hazel to be doing more than you, if we're going to be honest. So yeah, Nella thinks that Hazel is a particular kind of Black person, her kind of Black person, whatever that means to Nella. And so she makes certain assumptions about Hazel that Hazel never confirmed nor denied, but also like, I don't know why you made these assumptions about her. Then you have this whole backstory with like hair care products. And when I tell you I'm annoyed, I am annoyed. Because not only did that come into play, but like after everything happened in the way that it happened, nothing came out of this. I don't know what not that there has to be a lesson. There doesn't have to be a lesson, right? In a story. I don't need a lesson. But what I don't know is what this story was supposed to say. Exactly. I mean, I have an idea of what it's supposed to say, and I don't think that's a particularly great message, if that's what it is. It almost felt like pitting two Black women against each other. And for what? That's my real question. And for what? Yeah, not my favorite. I knew I wasn't going to have a good time with this. I thought I was going to have an enjoyable hate read. And I kind of did. I kind of enjoyed it, the hate reading part. I was texting with Ray as I was finishing it because she finished a little bit before me. And I just was just like, the fuck? And that's really where I'm going to leave this review of that. The fuck? I would not recommend this to anyone. And for all of the people who really, really love this book and like this book, I have a few questions for you. I just want to sit down. I want to talk. Yeah, I just want to talk. And so that's where I am with that. All right, guys, it's time for an update. I don't know where that came from, but let's do a little bit of an update. I honestly haven't felt like reading a whole lot lately. I've been trying to join Blackoweenathon sprints when they've been on, which has been fantastic because there's been one every day, but I just can't like focus on a particular book. So I will say that I finished reading I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And what are my thoughts on this? I don't know. So In the beginning, I started off reading this by audio, and then I stopped because there was this moment where she was getting like a phone call from this person, and the voice was just so creepy that I was like, I don't want to listen to this. I feel weird. So what is this about? A girl who has been dating this guy, they go on a little bit of a trip to visit his parents. They haven't been dating long, and so she feels like this is a little early for you to be introducing me to your parents, but you know what? I'm gonna rock with it. Now, I just wanna say, girl, you should have listened to your gut, but whatever. So they're on this car ride. She's having these thoughts. She like fluctuates between having thoughts of like, oh, how he's a good guy, and then thoughts of like, this just isn't for me. I don't think that this guy is for me. Which in my head, I'm just like, then why are you continuing with this? This relationship? Why are you going on this ride to meet his parents? They get to the house to meet his parents. It's a weird time. His parents are strange. He acts strangely. Then they leave. Things happen at the house while she's there. They're not there for a very long period of time, but they leave, and then they're heading back to their home, not their hometown, but like where they live, which is I think also a couple of hours away again. And again, more weirdness. Like I can't tell you what happens, obviously, because one, it's a really short book, so it went by pretty fast. I probably would have finished it sooner had I wanted to read, but I wasn't in the mood to read, so it kind of took me a little bit longer. Nothing really is connected. Like there's no circling back to the beginning point of her ending things. It ends in a very weird way. Also there at the beginning of like every chapter or section, there's like an interview between two people that's talking about like, I didn't see this coming. People, you know, what happened here? How did they get to this? And like, that's never really connected. I don't know what my rating for this is. I'm sure if I like looked in my Goodreads or my journal, I could probably give it, but like unrated feels like a good rating, to be honest. Was it bad? No. Was it good? No. Does it make sense? Absolutely not. I feel like my friends are now just on a mission to make me read weird things. Unlike Bunny, where it was weird and funny, this wasn't funny haha. It was funny weird. Very unsettling. It makes you feel like there was always something coming like right around the corner, and then you're like anticipating this thing to happen, and then nothing. It lulls you back into a false sense of security, and you should never feel safe reading this, ever. I will say that if the point of this book was to make you feel like unsettled and just uncomfortable, it hit the mark. It 1000% hit the mark, because anytime I did read it, and I was mostly reading it at night, whenever I had to like leave my apartment to like walk my dog or something, I would just be like, what's gonna happen to me? Even though nothing happened in this book, I was just on edge. And so that's where we are with that. And then I started listening to Battle Royale. Whoa. So this is about a bunch of junior high students that are put on an island. I think they're on an island. They are put on this island, and only one person can leave the island. Starting off, there was 42 students. And so, you know, you've got to get from 42 students to one. And this wasted no time in getting right to the point. People were like, listen, there can only be one. Well, let's get to it. I will say that I'm maybe like 30% into it, so I'm at about 200-ish pages. And the number of people who have died, and then there's still so many more. I think we're at like 28 students at this point. And it's hard for me because there are so many students, and they like keep telling you names and kind of like the relationships that some of the students have with each other, that I get a little confused at times about like who's doing what, and am I supposed to be following this person right now and like caring about them? Are they gonna play apart later. Two students, Shuya and Noriko, I think those are their names. Those two I know for sure are like main characters. You know, we've spent a lot of time with them. I think there's another person like Shogo. He just entered the chat. Is he an important part of this? Maybe. Will there only be one? Probably, maybe. Could like they band together and like say we're not doing this? I don't know. This really is a fast read. And that's what I have for right now. I will check in later. Let's do a little bit of an update, shall we? Also, don't mind my nails. I know that they are raggedy. They're gonna get done, okay? Maybe. I finished reading Battle Royale, and man, what a time. It was so good. These kids in Battle Royale, baby, murder. Murder is the name of the game, and literally. And I loved it. I know it came before, but it was touted as like Japanese Hunger Games. And yes, but also no. There's a country of East Asia, and they have these, they take a whole class, a whole like junior high class of kids, and they make them not compete, but like kill each other until there's one left. Increase the morale of the country. I kind of don't remember. I read it a couple of days ago. So they only have like one winner left. Very Hunger Games-ish, right? And so you have this whole class of 42 students. In the beginning, I was super confused because I was like, 42 people, I'm never going to keep track of all of these people. And I didn't. There are some key players that like you need to focus on, but you do kind of touch on everybody. And one by one, they start picking each other off. Now, I will say, super gruesome. Way more gruesome than Hunger Games. It's just very violent. Now, I will say, there was one thing that like bothered me. So for the most part, they seemed really like, you know, teenager kids, right? They would, like, I feel like a common theme was like everybody would talk to each other like, who do you have a crush on? There were some kids that were just so strategic, like without having known like this was what was going on. Like one girl was just like, I'm going to use my sexual feminine wiles and lure these boys into their death. And I was just like, at 15, I don't know that that would be my first strategy. This seems super advanced thinking for a 15-year-old, but maybe that was just because I was dumb as a teenager and I was not thinking that hard. There was a plot twist at the end and I did not see it coming. Like I was just reading it and I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is how this goes. And then another plot twist and I was just like, oh my goodness. Some of the people I was rooting for to die because they were douchebags and I was just like, the world will not miss you. Overall, Dasha was right. She said it was a super fast read, and it was. Is murderous children a fun thing? I don't know. I had fun. And then I moved on to The Good House. I'm so behind on my Blackoweenathon reads. I think I've only read like 3 books, and I think that's probably all I'm gonna get in for Blackoweenathon. I wanted to do more, but overall, I have not been reading as much as I wanted to this month. The Good House is giving me everything that I want it to give me. It is creepy and atmospheric. There's like possession happening. And like, I just feel scared. And that is really what I want. I want to feel scared, not just for the characters, but for me. I want to be so scared that I'm just like, oh shit, this thing is coming to my house. I've been wanting to read it at night and I can't because I'm scared. This sounds weird, but I like being scared. Not like of real life things. But ghosts, goblins, and ghouls, I'm here for it. There's this woman, Angela. She has to go back to her house and she doesn't want to go back to this house because her son died in this house under kind of mysterious circumstances. Like she's not really sure how or why. Well, she knows how, but she's not really sure why it happened. And she's trying to uncover the mystery of why it happened. And then once she returns, all of these bad things just start happening. And she's like, is it me? Am I the drama? It's not her. When I tell you, I did not think I was going to have this great of a time. I mean, I thought I would enjoy it, but I didn't realize I would love it this much. Shout out to Bree, who is always talking about this author and her works, because I've got to read all of her stuff now because I love this so much. I did start reading, what's the name of that book? Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin, and it's good so far. I can't say like much about it because when I say I'm not that far in, I think I've read like 20 pages. I imagine it's going to be also a good read. So I'm excited for that. I got a couple things to do, like I said. I'll be listening to The Good House for the rest of the day. Hello, happy Halloween. Today is the 31st, and so it's US Halloween. Do other countries celebrate Halloween? I don't know. I've never really thought that much about Halloween, to be honest. But today I finished listening to The Good House by Tananarive, and 5 stars across the board because let me tell you, it was so good. It was so good and such a great way for me to close out Blackoweenathon. This gave me all of the things that I seek for when I'm like, recommend a scary book. This gave me like The Haunting, the movie, and what was the name of that Kate Hudson movie where like they kept like possessing people? Please hold. The Skeleton Key. That's what it was. It was The Skeleton Key. Angela is lawyer turned agent. She's living in California, and she used to live in Washington State with her grandmother and mother. Now, her grandmother is from Louisiana, and she doesn't know a whole lot about her grandmother's past, but like she knew that she grew up with her grandmother, and then like there was a terrible accident and she lost her mother, so her grandmother raised her. And so she it's a very small town that they're in Washington, and everyone kind of knows everybody. And one day she goes up to, after her grandmother has passed, she goes up to Washington and she hosts like this annual 4th of July party. Something very terrible happens to her and kind of just breaks apart her family. And so she comes back to California and is like, I'm never going back to that house. It has so many terrible memories and I can't be burdened with it. However, it's been empty for so long, and now there are people who are trying to like buy the house. And so the agent, who is also someone she knows from the past, because again, it's a small town, is like, hey, you need to make some decisions about this house. What do you want to do? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to keep it? At least come back to the house to, check on the upkeep of it. So she goes back, and all of these sinister, haunting, ghostly things just start happening like as soon as she gets there. And so then you're doing like time jumps. So you're going from the present and going forward and seeing like what's happening, but you're also seeing the past events that led to all of these things, and how those past actions of people created this very ominous and threatening environment that is in the house. So it's kind of a story of this house and possession. So if you're into like possession type things, I would go for this. And also you're looking at how the past actions of your ancestors can have direct implications on your present life. The characters in this, some you like more than others, or you're more interested in others, but they're all very well developed, and you're very interested in how they all play a role into like the current outcome of the Good House. There is like this battle between evil and good spirits, and like they're clashing all in the name of like protection or destruction. And this all stems because Angela's grandmother and great-grandmother practiced voodoo, and like it was never passed down from after Angela's grandmother. So like, it's kind of history lost, but like you see how that also plays a role into this. Again, so good. What a great way to like end out the month, end Blackoweenathon, and a great book to like read on Halloween. I also started, or I was continuing with Go Tell It on the Mountain. So I'm not like super far into it. I'm maybe like 20, 30-ish% of the way in. It's a slower read. It's not like quick and fast paced. It's very like intentional writing, and you need to like pay attention to it. We've got this boy, John. He just turns 14, and he is having some thoughts about life things, sex, and whether he should be a good person. And he's having kind of mean thoughts towards his siblings and his family. And he's like questioning, does this make him still a good Christian boy, and will he still get into heaven, thinking the thoughts that he has? But also, while you're following John and like the thoughts that he's having, you're also following like other people and their relationship with the Black church, and how they come to their relationship with God, and just the whole faith. And that is also interesting to watch. Especially moments when there is like, there's one character and she has a brother, and the brother is like the apple of her mother's eye. And it's always like, he is going to be the saving grace of this family. God has really shown his blessings on him, and he can do no wrong, basically. But then he does wrong, and he's shown all of this grace and mercy and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, she goes through something horrific and terrible that's not her fault at all. And like, she's shunned from the community. And I was just like, this is supposed to be written about 1920s, 20s, 30s, 1930s. And it's still very much prevalent today, and still very relevant to today, and how like we sweep things under the rug in families, and how like men just can do no wrong. They can do wrong, and you're just like, they get a slap on the wrist. And it's just like, they need a lot more than a slap on the wrist. So yeah, but that's all I have. Like I said, it's Halloween tonight. I'm gonna go hang out with a couple of friends and watch Hocus Pocus, because I'm an old lady and I've got work in the morning, so I'm not gonna be out. But we are getting our dogs together. Blair has a costume, and hopefully I can show you that if he's not like being such a jerk about it. Like, I tried to take a video of him earlier, and he immediately sat down. And I just want to be like, the people would like to see. You look so cute. And he does not care. Also, as I'm sure you've noticed, this is the last day of October, and I'm not done with my picks that Dasha picked for me, but I do think that I can finish by the end of this week. So we're going to extend this. So it's an October reading vlog, but it's just gonna go a little later. Also, I started this very, very late. I didn't start this until like what, the 10th, 11th or something? So 9th? I don't know. It was well into October. So we're just making up for all the days we skipped in the beginning. Happy November 1st, people. I told you that this was going to spill over into the next day because, well, I didn't finish everything. But today I have sprints with Ray and Jess over on Ray's channel. And I think I'm going to get started on Raybearer. And Ray actually loves this book. And I'm honestly very surprised that she was not the one who chose it for me when it was her pick to do it. But Dasha picked it for me, of course, obviously, because these are Dasha's picks. And I'm going to get started on it during sprints. So I'm excited. So we had sprints tonight. They went very, very well. I started Raybearer, and I'm really liking it so far. Not that I thought that I wouldn't, but now I definitely have to like it, because if I don't, then Ray is going to end our friendship. But so far, I'm about like 70 pages in, and I don't know a lot about anyone so far. I do know that Terasai seems like a lovely, lovely child. She's like 11 years old,
super sweet, super pure, great little girl. I am very interested in her mother, the lady. So Teresai is raised by herself in this palace, and only her mother comes to see her. She has tutors and attendants, but there are like no other kids around. There's no other like people around beyond these walls that she lives in. She can't go beyond the walls of her house because like she just can't. And she does have a special ability, and the ability is that she can see memories if like she touches something or someone. And so her mother, who's known as the lady, uses Teresai to, I think she's trying to use it to like get closer to the emperor, but I'm not really sure why she has beef with the emperor. So Teresai is on her way, and she is trying to also become part of the emperor's son's like inner circle. I think eventually she's going to have to like make a decision over like whether she makes her own decisions or someone like makes the decisions for her. It's entertaining and interesting. So I think I'm going to do a little bit more reading tonight because I'm very into it. I haven't wanted to keep reading things with my eyes in a long time, but this is very compelling. I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done tonight because I am a little tired, but we shall see. Good morning. Happy Friday. I am very excited for this Friday or this weekend because I'm off today and I'm off on Monday. And so I have grand plans for today. For the weekend, I don't know, but today for sure. So I have a hair appointment later today. And then I think I might go to Barnes and Noble. Feel like I haven't been there in a while. And do I need any more books? No. No, I do not. But I just want to go and peruse the shelves, see if I can find something that I haven't heard a lot about, that there isn't like a ton of hype for. Go back to my roots of reading before like I discovered BookTube and Goodreads and all of that, where like people were telling me about the books, and I just go and I find a book for myself, and then I have to determine whether it sucks or not. But in terms of reading, I am hoping to finish my last 2 books. I'm like 70% of the way into Go Tell It on the Mountain. There's not like a huge plot going on, so there's not a whole lot to say like right now. I can tell you more by the time that I'm done. And then I'm still kind of in the beginning of Raybearer, but I'm hoping that I can get through that by the end of this weekend, by the end of tomorrow, preferably. I ain't got shit to do tomorrow. I think Blair and I may try to go for like a trail walk, and then for the rest of the day, I'm just gonna hang out and read. And then we're gonna close out this vlog because it started late and it's ending late. I gotta go to the next person. The next person has already chosen my books. I'm excited for those books. Not that I'm not excited for these books, but because I am, but like, gotta keep this train moving. So those are the plans, and yeah.
From what was seemingly not a super busy day, but feels like a really busy day. I went to Barnes & Noble. I was there forever. Now, did I still need this many? Absolutely not, but we're here now, okay? So that's what we got. Let's get into the books that I bought. With these, most of them I had not heard about. And so I kind of enjoyed it because I hadn't heard anyone talk about it. And I'm really excited to just discover these for myself. I don't mind the recommendations, the millions of recommendations that I get from like BookTube and BookTwitter and Bookstagram. I don't mind them, but there is something to be said about discovering a book. But the first book that I got that was not a discovery was actually The Promised Neverland. This is volume 2. I read volume 1 in September and I just loved it so much that I wanted to continue. I wanted to get volume 3, but they didn't. They only had 2, 4, 5, 8, and 9. And so I was just like, I don't want to get 2 and 4 and not have 3. So I only got 2. The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman is an adult fantasy about a professional spy for this mysterious library organization. And her assistant have to go collect a book. So what they do is they collect important works of fiction from all different realities, and her assistant have to go get this one important book that they need to get in a different reality. However, the catch is that by the time they get to that reality, it will have already been stolen. And so they've got to figure out how to get it, the mystery behind why it's going to be stolen. And so that sounds interesting to me. Then I also got The Second Death of Edie and Violet Bond. These are two 17-year-old twins, and they have the powers of being mediums. Violet can open the veil between life and death, and Edie can cross the spirit world, but then their mother dies, and their father threatens to send them to an asylum. So once they run away, they join a traveling group of spiritualists. But while they're on the run with this group of spiritualists, something happens with one of the twins' magic acts. And they realize that there is a dark spirit that has been released and is on the hunt for mediums. And that dark spirit was actually the cause of their mother's death. Now they're trying to uncover the mystery, hunt down the dark spirit before the dark spirit hunts them. And then because I enjoyed The Beautiful Ones so much, I got Signal to Noise by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And this is about a girl who discovers that she can cast magic spells, making mixtapes. And so she makes these mixtapes for her friends, and they solve like broken families and conjure up love. And then she like leaves for reasons, I don't know, it doesn't say why. But when she comes back for her father's funeral, she's kind of like, she starts to remember that she used to make these mixtapes that contained magic. And does the magic still exist? I'm excited to see how magic is woven in with music and how those two intertwine. Then I got Payback's a Witch, and this is about Emmy, who is a witch. She's not a very powerful one, and that's mostly because she hasn't been back to the town where her family is from, and so like that weakens her magic. But she comes back to participate in a competition so that she can carry on her family name. And so she comes back, she meets up with this other girl, Talia. Talia is also like this super badass witch, and she was in a relationship with Gareth at the same time as this other person who was in a relationship with Gareth. Now, I don't know that Emmy was in a relationship with Gareth. I just know that she doesn't want to be around him. But Talia and the other girl that were in a relationship with Gareth at the same time team up, and they ask Emmy to join them in seeking revenge. This gives me John Tucker Must Die vibes, except that Emmy starts to develop a crush on Talia. And then the last book that I got was A Ghost in Shining Armor. Gemma can see ghosts, and she often helps them resolve any issues they have so that they can cross over. And Levi is dead, but Levi is back because he wants to help Gemma try to reunite with her long-lost sibling. And so while they're together, they're thinking that they're helping each other, and they are, but they're also falling in love at the same time, which is kind of a problem because Levi is dead and Gemma is not. So like, how does that work? I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be funny and cute all at the same time. In other news, I finished Go Tell It on the Mountain. I really had a good time with this. I ended up giving this like 3.75 in my head. The writing is very slow paced, but it's very deliberate. It's very beautiful. What is this about? The first part, we focus on John and how he feels about himself in relation to his parents and his siblings and his surroundings. And his dad, his stepfather, is a sometimes preacher who's very hard on John and his siblings and their mother at times. And it makes him question, if his stepfather is a man of God, why is he so mean? Why doesn't he have the same love for his family as he does his like parishioners? Also, he is trying to decide, like, is religion for me? How do I feel about it? He sees this guy, Alicia, and he's like, well, Alicia is raised up in this church. He's a little bit older than John, and he's already preaching the word. And what makes him a holier person than me to be able to preach to people? Then part 2, you get more into the backstory of John's father, John's mother, how he came to be, John's stepfather, and then other family members. And they all have a role in making people who they are today. Part 2 also talks about when things happen to women, like some kind of sexual assault happening or them getting pregnant, they are shunned from the Christian community. But when no one talks about the men who did the sexual assault or the men that helped the women get pregnant. Like, if the women sinned by getting pregnant, didn't that man also sin by getting her pregnant? I don't. And then, all kinds of other sins that take place, but men are very rarely called to the carpet to answer for it. One character in this book that I was here for was Florence, because sis was pissed and she was not here for half the things. And then you get to part 3 where where all of the past things and the current things are coming together. John is seeing ghosts from the past that are kind of covering him, and he's starting to figure out what religion means for him personally, and not because of what his stepfather says it's supposed to be or supposed to mean, especially given that his stepfather acts one way and then claims to be a man of God for everyone else. I really loved it. The more I read of James Baldwin, the more I'm just like, I want more. I read If Beale Street Could Talk, and that was moving and heartfelt. I read this one and I really liked it. So I'm excited to read more from James Baldwin.
Good morning. So, last night I read a little bit more of Raybearer. I'm really liking it. I think I'm actually going to finish it today. I mean, that was my plan, but I think I'm going to actually do it. I've got Whiny McWinebutt over here because we are going to a new place for a little bit of a walk, and he just wants to get out and smell all the things, see all the people. But I'm going to listen to a little bit more of Raybearer on my walk. And so me and this guy here, we're going to go for a walk, and so yeah. Yesterday, I finished reading Raybearer. I stayed up
really late because we had an extra hour of sleep. I realized I didn't like say a whole lot while I was reading this, but I ended up giving this 4.75 stars, almost 5. So overall, this tells the story of Terasai, and her mother has her on purpose for a reason, and that reason is to kill the emperor's son. But in order to get close to the emperor's son, she has to go through a couple of trials and become a part of the emperor's son's future council of 11 people. All the 11 represent different districts in this like region, Eretzar, that's where they live. Terasai is burdened with either trying not to become one of the 11 or becoming one of the 11 and like succumbing to her mother's wishes. So really she's just out here trying not to become who her mother says she needs to be. Terasai is a sweet, beautiful, genuine character, and the found family in this was so gratifying, especially because all Terasai ever wanted was like to have a family because she had not had one, because her mother had her closed off to other children and other people. So like the found family aspect of this warmed my heart so much. Like the mystery behind why Terasai's mother wanted the emperor's son dead was just wild. You're going on this ride and you think you know what might come next, but no, you never know what comes next. The mother-daughter relationship in this is wild. In the beginning, I wasn't sure whether I was gonna love or hate the lady, and to be honest, I'm still not sure if I love or hate the lady that is Terasai's mother. I understand why she did what she did, but what she did was not great. I will say that this was such an easy and fun read. I just wanted to keep consuming it and like never put it down. I did put it down a couple of times. Obviously, it took me a couple of days to read it. The fantastical elements, the magic, the writing, the descriptions of the land, everything is just so rich and like lush, and you can just see everything, and just, it's so good. I think I would have rated this higher. Like, I think I would have given this a full 5 stars if at the end the stakes felt a little higher, even though there is a minor cliffhanger because you want to find out what she's going to do next. I just felt like it kind of wrapped up and was just like, and one day we'll figure it all out. And then it just fades to black. So I feel like if the stakes had felt a little higher, if things were more immediate or the danger felt more immediate, I would have given this a full 5. Fantastic read. I highly recommend this to anyone. Just read it. Have a good time. And so that was my October. Dasha picked some really excellent books for me to read this month. I'm so glad that she picked something a little slightly creepy so that I can get into like the spooky mood, because that went very well with what I was reading for Blackoweenathon. And so like, you know, too long, didn't watch. Let me give you the rundown of everything I read, why, my thoughts, you know, the short version. So 2 books that I did not mention in this vlog, but I read in October and I'll include in a wrap up, were Mari and the Great Game and Blanche on the Lamb, which was the first book that I read for Blackoweenathon. But because I started this vlog so late, I had read that book well ahead of time. So for Dasha's picks, I asked her to pick a book that she had never read but was intrigued about based on the name or the synopsis, and she chose Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. This is the story of a 14-year-old boy. It's a coming of age story. It takes place all within one day. He turns 14, and on that day, he's trying to really figure out who he is as a person, even though his stepfather has told him not great things about himself and has made him feel like he's not worthy almost of the Lord's love. And then where does that fall with the religion? If he's such a terrible person, like, how can he be a part of this religion that tells him that he is not a good person? Also within that, you are following his stepfather and his mother and some other people that play a part into the way that he is treated. But I really enjoyed it. It was fun, intriguing, interesting, very introspective, reflective. I gave this 4 stars. Then I asked Dasha to pick a super hyped book for me, and she chose Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. And so I gave this 4.75 stars, almost a perfect 5. It was just such a fun ride. It was interesting to see the growth of Terasai trying to decide whether she wants to be the person that her mother has created her to be, or whether she wants to become her own person, and how she goes about doing that and saving people that she loves. Then I asked Dasha to pick a book because she wanted to know my reactions about it, and she chose I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain, Reid. Another really weird book. Not as weird as Bunny. In this, you're following a couple. They're a relatively new couple, and they're on this road trip to meet the boyfriend's parents. The whole time the girl is thinking like, he's a nice enough guy, but I just don't know if he's the guy for me. I'm thinking I should end things. And the whole time I was thinking, I wish you would end things. And it comes to a head like towards the end. I don't know what the ending means. I don't understand what exactly happened. But you're following this whole ride up to the point where they meet parents and then a little beyond. And it's just a weird, unsettling, creepy kind of vibe. Like, you're just never sure what's gonna happen. Like, and while it's like you're waiting for the jump scare, you know what I mean? And the whole time you're just holding your breath. It was interesting, for sure. I gave this 3.5 stars because while it wasn't like the best thing I've read, it did have the creep factor and like the suspense factor that I do like. It was a quiet suspense. And so for that, 3.5 stars. Will I ever read this again? No. I've been told not to watch the movie, but I kind of want to watch the movie. I don't know. Let me know if I should or not. And then for a book, any book, she chose Battle Royale by Koushun Takami. Man, what a fucking ride. I will say, if you liked Hunger Games for the brutal killings, you are going to love this. I didn't necessarily love Hunger Games for that reason, but I did love the brutal killings in this. It was just I don't want to say it was a fun ride, because it was not necessarily a fun ride. I mean, there are a bunch of kids that are being massacred on this island by each other because the government had said, hey, we need to do this for reasons. And like, guess what? It's your class's turn to turn on each other and kill each other. And so it's just a bunch of 42 students on this island. They can't escape until there's only one. Boy, what a ride. Even though you are following all of these killings, there is one major like storyline that you're following, like a couple of characters that you are following because they have kind of banded together, and you're trying to see like, are they going to turn on each other? Are they all going to make it out? Who's going to make it out? How do people die? How do they survive? And you're kind of interested in that. And along with everybody's like killings, you kind of get a little bit of their backstory. I ended up giving this 4.25 stars. It was really fast, but I just don't know that it needed to be this long. And then some other books that I read, but not for Dasha's picks, but for Blackoweenathon. I already mentioned Blanche on the Lamb that I read earlier, but I also read The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. And I buddy read this with Ray. I forget what prompt this was for Blackoweenathon, but I think I'm settling at 1.5 stars for this one. I already knew what one of the plot twists were for this when I started, so I was really just reading it to figure out how we got to that point. But let me rewind. Let me tell you what this is about. Nella, she's the only black girl at her publishing company or whatever. And she's always like trying to champion for more diversity in the workplace. Meanwhile, she's just being an editor's assistant, and she's trying to progress in her career. Enter Hazel, who shows up one day and is the other black girl. And Nella's like, yes, finally another one. But she's also suspicious. Like, all this time I've been trying to get another black person in here, and then they just randomly hire this one. Like, I've never even heard of her. And I would be like, Nella girl, HR does not have to go through you. Anyway, Nella is a very annoying character because she tells you about how she's working her ass off, and it's Like, I don't actually know that you are, Nella. I think you are just doing your job. And Hazel came in and has become like this stellar employee all of a sudden. And Nella gets a little jealous. Then Hazel also has relationships with other people. And again, Nella is jealous of these relationships that Hazel has with people. And the more I think on this book, the more I think, Nella, all of these things, I understand how they came to happen, but if the thing hadn't happened, that happened, all of these things still would have happened because you never took initiative to be better at your job or befriend certain people. So what did you want, girl? And I think when I finished reading it, I was just like ranting to Ray about it because this was some bullshit. I'm just gonna be honest, it was some bullshit. I do not recommend this to anyone. I will say I would try to read something else from her because the writing was not bad. The writing was not bad. Like, I was engaged, especially in the beginning, because I was like, when is this gonna turn? Like, what is going on? Something does seem weird. And so I was invested in trying to figure out what was gonna happen. But it was the ending and the way the ending happened that pissed me off. I would attempt to read something else from the author if they wrote something else. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. And then the last book that I read, I think this actually may be the favorite book that I've read this month, and that was The Good House by Tananarive. I gave it 5 stars. A creepy house, a creepy family history, just weird, haunting, horror things happening. Angela has to go back to her family home in Washington, Oregon. I'm gonna figure that out one day. Anyway, she has to go back to her family home because something horrific happened there, and she has to go back, kind of clean up things, and she's just like, I kind of want to be unburdened with this house. And so while she's there, she is finding out things from the past that had dire effects on her, and not just like her immediate past, but like her family past, things that were passed down from her grandmother, her great-grandmother, things that they did that they had no idea would have unforeseen consequences for Angela in present day. And so she's at this house and she's starting to unravel the mystery. You're also jumping between a couple of timelines because you're going to like the past to see how things started. You're going to the not so distant past to see the horrific thing that happened and the events that led up to that. And then you're in the present where Angela's having to deal with everything and fix it. I loved it. The characters were well written. They developed really, really well. You just felt immersed in this place. You could feel the creepiness and like the hairs on your neck standing. And like I said, I wanted to be scared, and I was. And so Tananarive is definitely an author that I'm going to be reading more from, because if anything was like The Good House, if her other works are like The Good House, then I know I'm in for a fantastic ride. And that, folks, was my October / beginning of November, because I started this late and I finished late. But I still finished on... I was about to say I finished on time. Bitch, I just told you that you were late. So yeah, I have my next person lined up, waiting for me to read things for November. Let's move right along. Thank you, Dasha, for choosing all of these fantastic books for me to read. I had such a good time with them. And so if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, weird noises, I don't know how you put that in the chat, but you know, put that down below. Let's talk about them. And until next time, bye.